So we're calling it Fast X or Fast 10 for consistency. You say Fast X, I say Fast 10. Let's call the whole thing off.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Hello and welcome to Woodshed Reviews, where we look at films old and new, good and bad. On today's show, we're looking at Fast X.
Dominic Toretto, you're about to learn all about fear. Boom!
So the 10th or 11th film
Yeah.
in the Fast and Furious franchise.
Yeah. You forgot to mention we also review theme park rides.
This is a first for us then.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so you're kind of laying your cards on the table right away with what you think of Fast X.
Punch it!
Where do we start with this?
Don't know. Well, we've seen them all, and we're a glutton for punishment. We keep going to see them.
Yeah, this is my idea, I guess. Well, I've kind of enjoyed some of the previous ones. More, I think, kind of, for me, it kind of like was fun. 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, that's what I remember. People started talking about them again, and I thought, oh, maybe I'll check them out.
Generally kind of like, but yeah, they were fun and maybe enjoyable in a way that they're supposed to be or not supposed to be. I'm not 100%. I think most of the people involved are having fun with it. Maybe Vin Diesel
Taking it seriously.
taking it a bit seriously, I think.
What's going on in that head of yours?
Something little piece of it. He said, Dad, you're not afraid of anything. But I am. I'm afraid of losing someone I love.
But we'll do a quick, a very brief synopsis.
We can try, yeah.
The Fast Saga has been into like about 17 different characters.
Yeah.
And none of whom can seem to stay dead.
Yeah.
This is a sort of like sequel to Fast 5, more specifically.
Yes, and Fast 5 was mostly set in Rio de Janeiro. They did a big bank heist, basically stealing money from a crime lord, which would enable them to live a free life. So this crime lord had a son, played by Jason Momoa.
Not in the original film, not in
No.
5. He's kind of been inserted into the sequence.
The great Dom Toretto. If you never would have gotten behind that wheel, I'd never be the man I am today.
It's a kind of Die Hard 3 sort of scenario where the bad guy is
Yeah,
related to the bad guy from the first film and he wants revenge.
exactly. That's the scenario we got.
But he doesn't just want to kill Toretto and his family. He wants to,
Make a big show of it.
yeah, punish them and make them suffer.
Yeah.
So, and we suffer along with them. So that's the kind of basic synopsis. I don't think there's really much more to it
Not really.
than that, really. That's kind of it.
Yeah, that's what's tricky because I went in thinking this was Fast 10, this was going to kind of bookend the series before they start something else. I wasn't aware that this was part 1 of...
Part 1 of 2 or 3. They haven't decided yet. At the time of that we're filming this, it's officially 2, but there's rumours about there's going to be
a third one.
a third sequel to this film. Effectively, there's going to be 12 films in total. And this was probably the longest, I think this felt like the longest Fast and Furious film that I've seen. I don't know if it was in terms of minute, but
Yeah.
in terms of endurance.
Yeah, for sure. Well, they started reintroducing a lot of characters we've seen before, like Jason Statham's character and Cypher, played by Charlize Theron. So I was kind of watching this, like thinking, how on earth are they going to tie this all together?
Yeah, I was kind of struggling with, because I have seen them all, but I've seen them once over the years. And so when people were coming back into like Charlize Theron, I was like trying to be like, I remember her vaguely, but I can't remember what she did.
Yeah.
And I can never remember who's a good guy and who's a bad guy because they keep on changing factions all the time at the drop of a hat.
So it works out well. I mean, it makes you go out and buy the previous films and watch them again.
Well, did you?
Not really.
No.
I know that this road has been very hard. And yet here you are, building this magnificent family.
Yeah, so I was kind of struggling a little bit with that aspect of it as people were kind of brought into it, and I'm trying to remember from like a character from 10 years ago who was in Fast and Furious 5 for, you know, half an hour or something, and I'm trying to kind of go, who was that? And the film kind of, it felt to me like it assumed that you knew all this, which is fair enough if you're going to see it.
If you're a diehard fan.
Yeah, if you're a diehard fan.
Should be watching this every year.
Yeah, but okay, that's on me.
Dante, played by Jason Momoa, he was having a good time trying to blow up the Vatican in Rome. That was fun.
Yeah, aye, that was a nice kind of opening action sequence. That was completely ludicrous and over the top. Yeah, it was fun, and I had a smile on my face at points when it got really silly.
Yeah, it's in indestructible cars that can fly about. And
initially, yeah, and then you get some, later on we'll get to maybe a spoiler or two when suddenly someone apparently dies, and you're not entirely sure why, because everything that they've survived so far would suggest that that these people are kind of invincible at some point.
It's almost like a supernatural element going on.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was 7, a bit of action or an explosion or something, and Vin Diesel sort of disappears and goes to his car, and then he reappears, and it was almost like a Superman sort of like, that's him getting into the telephone box, getting into his outfit, right. And now he was just Vin Diesel or Dominic Toretto, now he's like, you know, he's like a superhero, and they become it's kind of gradually went from low-level street racing in the first film to like suddenly it's like Marvel meets Mission Impossible at some point. I think maybe 4 or 5, it sort of like shifted gears with that, and it's kind of just kept on ramping it up since then, because I guess you've got to go bigger, better, sillier, noisier.
Yeah, I suppose that's all they got really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's probably the thing. And I don't know about you, but as much as I've sort of saying I've enjoyed them to some extent, I don't know if this one was just not up to the par of some of the other ones, or if I'm just getting a bit fed up with this. 10 films in, either answer could be correct.
I mean, like you said, I think they stretch this one out. It feels like, you know, part 1 of 2 films, or the first act of 3 films. Yeah, because I was wondering like how they're going to finish this. Yeah,
and spoilers, they don't. It kind of ends on a sort of
cliffhanger
of sorts.
Yeah,
but didn't feel like a very satisfying one to me.
Well, it's not satisfying in the way we know none of them are going to die.
No. Going into this film, I think you made a joke about they'll be bringing Gal Gadot back.
Yeah.
At one point.
I thought it would be just too silly.
Just being silly, because they've brought back two main characters who've died at this point. Han in episode 3 dies and then comes back later on, and Michelle Rodriguez's character Letty, she dies in one of them and then comes back a couple of years later with amnesia.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think you made a joke about, oh, well, they'll be bringing Gal Gadot back, who was in a couple of them and then died in 6, and lo and behold, the final shot is Gal Gadot
popping out of a submarine
in the middle of the Antarctic, to rescue Charlize Theron and Michelle Rodriguez,
who were enemies but are now friends.
Now they're friends, of course. Yeah, they'll get be having barbecue together. I think there was even a joke about that at one point.
Yeah.
So appreciated that.
How much time do we have?
About 4 minutes.
It'll have to do.
I think the films had a bit of tension when they first started, but now it feels like it's all gone.
Yeah.
As much as I enjoyed all the action scenes, they were a lot of fun. I found myself yawning during them as well, and that's not a good sign.
No. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of action in this, and it felt to me like, because at one point I went away for a bathroom break, and I timed it because it was the end of like a big action scene. I thought, okay, there's going to be some talk, family stuff and all that for, a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I'll come back, and I came back and we were in the middle of like this other John Cena's being chased in the desert with these cars that are all blowing up and exploding and stuff, and I'm like, what have I missed?
Cannon cars.
Yeah, it feels like they're wanting to target a bigger audience now. It's younger kids than maybe different from how the franchise started.
Yeah, oh, definitely, yeah. 'Cause I suppose like I have seen some old school fans who kind of bemoan and prefer the sort of street racing origins of like the first and third one, I think particularly. For me, yeah, I can understand that, but yeah, I did like the middle ones better, but now I'm kind of like, I don't know, it's gone too far now. It's gone too far in a few places, definitely.
Yeah. Where can they go now?
Well, I thought they peaked when they went into space, because that was a sort of the meme leading up to 9. It was like, well, what can they do now but go into space? And they did that. But I remember a couple of years ago, I remember going to see 9 and just kind of had more of a smile on my face. I thought it was a lot funnier, and I enjoyed it for that aspect of it. Not watching it seriously or anything like that, just kind of like having a bit of a laugh. And this time it just felt a little more grating and a little less fun, even though it was throwing everything at you, but maybe just too much, I think.
Yeah, for sure, I agree. Yeah, but it's a funny one because there's a lot to enjoy. I mean, the cast members, they're all great. They've all got a lot of charisma and fun to watch.
With one exception.
Who's that?
Vin Diesel.
He's improving with age, I think.
Oh, jeez. I just think he's a charisma vacuum.
They say when you're facing death, your life flashes before your eyes.
Of all the people that are in this film and all the people that aren't, that have been in previous films, like your Dwayne Johnson and stuff like that, of all the people to focus on, Dominic Toretto, played by Vin Diesel, it's just, it's a big, for me, it's a big sort of like, I don't know, let's shift the focus away. I know it was obviously a bit tragic that Paul Walker, and that obviously changed it and made him, Vin Diesel, more of the focus, but yeah, I think it could have been, you know, I miss things like The Rock being in it, and even Jason Statham, who's got a bit more screen presence and stuff, and is a bit of a better actor. And they're very, Jason Statham's not in it much, doesn't have much to do in this one, although they seem to be setting him up for the next one. And same with The Rock, who's just got a cameo appearance right at the end. So maybe it maybe feels like it's missing a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think maybe moving forward they need to definitely shift focus.
Tommy, I knew you would come for me. I'm Dante, Enchante. So how about we all just start shooting each other?
That's what I came here for.
I sort of enjoyed Jason Momoa in it, but maybe he was a little too one note.
Yeah, he was just having a laugh.
Yeah, he was taking the money in.
I don't know, there's some shots of him, I thought, he looks a bit like Steven Seagal, and then I thought, oh man, if it was Steven Seagal playing this role, it would have been so good.
Don't you understand that there are people out there who love you?
Yeah, he was fine. Kind of like, I was thinking Nicolas Cage meets the Joker from Batman, sort of spliced together, and he's kind of obviously just having a bit of fun and hamming it up and stuff. A lot of people seem to really like that aspect of it. I was okay with it. He was fine. Well, definitely one of the better performances in the film, and gets a little bit more screen time and a bit of stuff to do. But again, I think just a little one note maybe.
Yeah, it's bad guy doing bad things.
And now, I am the man who's going to break your family.
Yeah, what do you expect from a film like this, I suppose? But it could have just had a little more introspective moments with him and stuff. But he just seemed to be like, after the initial opening, I think they inferred that because of his head injury, it had made him a little crazy, which is fine. But then you need the kind of like, you know, you need the sort
journey
of up to down sort of thing, you know, and a little bit more.
And now, I'm gonna break yours.
Do you have a favourite action scene?
I do, but I don't know, you probably blink and you miss it.
Aye.
It's my favourite one. It's probably the most low-key one, which makes me sound cool. But it was when John Cena appears in the Toretto house to rescue his sister.
What's up?
Uncle Jacob?
Your dad sent me.
I like that because it wasn't totally over the top, and it was just contained in like one house, going up and down the stairs, people falling out the windows and through the floors and stuff like that. I really like that one. No cars involved, no big explosions, over the top and silly, but and then it was over with within a couple of minutes. But that was one time when I was like, I quite enjoyed that one.
I suppose the whole scene with the bomb inside the truck, and then the bomb gets unleashed and it rolls forever.
Yeah, that bomb is going and going and going.
Some momentum.
Yeah, I think that's probably the thing. Like you'd sent me some stuff of like the practical shots and stuff earlier on.
It's good to see that there's a lot of practical stuff in it.
But then I think they just pile on too much CGI around it, and then it goes on for too long.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like get desensitized to it, and like you're saying, a little bit bored. And at 2.5-ish hours, you know, you think chop half an hour off that, get it tight, you know, just by tuning the action sequences, maybe just drop one or two here and there. You know, there's plenty going on here for inattentive minds and stuff, you know, so
Yeah.
that would have been enough there. I would have been happier with that. It feels like it's missing a few characters, and there's a lot of them don't have an awful lot to do. You know, it's like the Stranger Things problem when you've got like 50 characters and you're trying to keep them all in it and give them all something to do. And it kind of, a lot of people just fall to the wayside. Disappointing not because I thought I was going to go and see a great film, but I thought they're usually fun and they're usually kind of silly, and it was, but for me, just missing a little something.
All right, dorks, what are we blowing up? What? The Vatican? Wow, you guys are going to hell.
Because one thing I do like about the franchise is the female family and the cast of characters from all sorts of different backgrounds, and
Yeah,
that kind of thing is
it doesn't
nice.
feel. Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's shoving it down your throat.
Yeah, it feels
or something. Natural.
effortless.
Yeah. And they've been doing it for like 20 years.
Exactly.
Before it was like de rigueur to sort of do it. So it feels. I agree with you there. It feels like it's just a natural thing to do in a film of that ilk. Okay, so will we give a patented Woodshed Logs in the Fire rating for Fast X? Will I go first?
Yeah, our first theme park ride.
Yeah, I'm gonna say 2 for me. I'm possibly 2.5, but I think 2, and that's not me being snooty or snobby about a film like this, because there's ones that I would definitely rate higher than this. But I was a bit bored. It was a bit too long. There's not much drama. Well, there's drama, but there's no tension. There's a lot of action, but it doesn't feel it's got any weight. And people are just, even when people die, you're kind of like going, yeah, you're going to be back in the next film. And, the sort of switching sort of like stances of like someone being a bad guy, a good guy. It doesn't feel like it's got any sort of like weight to it. Again, it's just par for the course. 10 films in, as much as I would call myself a sort of fan of this, I'm a bit like I'm kind of tuning out now. So
that's fair enough. I think possibly it's probably the weakest out of all of them. Probably wouldn't have chosen to go see it at the cinema, but you dragged me along.
Yeah, well, we've got to review films, good and bad, old and new, so here's a new bad one for you. Well, I don't know, what's your rating?
I would probably go 2.5.
All right, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, but I'll definitely check out the next one.
And
see how they wrap it up.
That's the problem with having such a big family. How do you choose the ones you save?
Yeah, usually it ends with a barbecue and...
Yeah, there's usually a finale to it, and everyone's kind of chowing down on some barbecue, and they're all buddies.
Father, we give thanks for all the choices we've made, because that's what makes us who we are. Let us forever cherish the loved ones we've lost along the way. Thank you for the little angel, the newest addition to our family. Thank you for bringing Letty home. And most of all, thank you for fast cars.
Well,
yeah,
you want to wrap it up?
I'll wrap it up, yeah. Oh, wait till part 2 to wrap it up. No. Okay, I think that's all we have time for, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Cheers.
That was awesome!